Let's go ahead and get started. Thank you for joining us today. Quick 30-minute webinar. We hope to have time for questions at the end. This is certainly a great conversation to have, very timely considering the challenges many companies are facing. We are recording this, so please feel free to share that recording link with any of your team members should you have interest to do so. My name is Lonnie Kiefer. I am a co-founder here at SmartCert, and joining me is Brianna Dixon. She's a customer success manager, so she handles everything from onboarding and training to support on the platform. If you have questions at any point throughout this webinar, if you hover your mouse down at the bottom of your screen, you'll see a toolbar pop up. If you click on Q&A, that will send a direct message. Input your question, that'll send a direct message to Brianna. She can assist. And as I mentioned, we hope to have time to go through those questions at the end. As far as an agenda goes, the state of the industry, the impact of inflation, and certainly going over where innovation exists. Where are companies at? What conversations are we having? And has the pandemic created enough momentum for innovation to influence the decisions companies are making in response to these challenges? Where on the path to paperless does that put you? And what steps does it take to establish the foundation for a digital future? And finally, some insights on advancements in cert transfer, and as I mentioned, that Q&A. So let's get started. Quick backstory on SmartCert. Lyndon Laddie, shown there on the left, quit his perfectly good job in the fall of 2019 to conquer the paperwork challenges he spent 20 years dealing with in aerospace manufacturing and distribution. Oftentimes he would pick up the phone or go visit a customer and have to put on his customer service hat and help them track down paperwork. Knowing this was pervasive throughout the industry, he decided to do something about it. We launched our beta in March of last year. And have had a lot of great initial success. You'll see in that photo our partnership with NSQL. They have integrated SmartCert into their platform, so all of their customers now have automated cert transfer at their fingertips. It's partnerships like that and great momentum in the past year that really have set us up well. We have over 300 companies sending and receiving SmartCerts. Cert transfer certainly has a great impact on efficiencies within the process, both internally and what that communication looks like with your vendors and suppliers. You can see over 172,000 SmartCerts have been created. We closed our seed round of funding earlier this year, which really sets us up well for the growth and expansion we're looking forward to in the coming years. So starting out with the state of the industry, some say inflation will be in place until the end of the year. Others are looking ahead and seeing the consequences potentially falling into 2023. In its most obvious state, inflation has a direct effect on profits, with cost increases impacting the bottom line. This has a significant impact on distributors, as their two largest costs are products and labor. And for manufacturers, costs from their suppliers and overall operations are also challenging profitability. How do you fight back? It's likely you may already be considering or making adjustments to counteract the challenges this year has presented. Let's look at the common actions companies consider to counteract the impact inflation has on their business. Usually, a consideration would be to adjust your workforce. However, labor costs and shortages have already been putting the squeeze on business and impacting margins. Many companies are already struggling with acquiring and retaining talent. In fact, 3 in 4 manufacturers agree that hiring and retaining talent is actually critical to grow their business. And nearly 2/3 expect to invest in hiring and retaining talent this year. The consensus is that adjusting your workforce isn't a realistic situation. As the price of energy product and commodities rise, manufacturers and distributors are looking for ways to cushion the impact on the cost of goods sold. Do you reassess your current contracts? Do you reevaluate your renewals and renegotiate? Is it time to get aggressive and find alternate suppliers? This presents challenges in what can be accomplished in the short term and the impact it may have on your business in the long term. Let's also make sure we recognize the fact that current supply chain issues are likely reducing your ability to restructure your contracts and suppliers without creating new challenges. There's certainly always ways to tighten up budgets, from office supplies to travel, but cost-cutting measures may prove to be a greater challenge. With so much uncertainty on rising costs, many have or will consider passing those costs to their customers. This certainly requires a precise measurement of how these input cost increases are impacting the bottom line. But it also raises questions. How great will these price increases be? And how long will they stick? Which customers are you at risk to lose? And once again, do the benefits outweigh the risks? Many common practices to fight inflation create bigger challenges and risks. So how do you fight back? Simple answer, you invest in yourself. With the challenges to contain labor costs, companies can move to strengthen retention rates and expand automation strategies, particularly those that tackle repetitive tasks, essentially eliminating the work itself. It's worth noting that for the first time in history, digital natives are beginning to outnumber those who began their careers before the internet. Digital innovation starts to feel differently when you consider the incoming labor pool. Gen Z workers will power the bulk of operations and supply chains beyond 2030, and that's just 7.5 years away. Also, strengthen your relationship with your vendors by improving supply chain productivity through automation. Finally, driving value to your customers and streamline the channels to reduce the impact they have on your team. There are companies who have led the pack in innovation, and there are those who have taken a wait and see approach. But the momentum the pandemic has created around digitalization and innovation is creating a larger gap in the who is and who is not. Smart companies are finding ways to improve their competitiveness while simultaneously fighting increasing costs. Gartner calls this digital deflation, and it represents a strategy to invest in technology that permanently reduces the cost of doing business. This can be applied to product costs, such as warehouse automation and e-commerce, but can also be applied to overhead functions like quality. There may already be progress there based on your priorities in the last few years. 94% of global manufacturing companies have indicated that digital transformation helped them keep their operations running during the pandemic. Companies that used new technology to increase productivity pulled far ahead of those who chose to hunker down and wait. McKinsey stated, for those companies that hadn't scaled or even begun their digital transformation, the past year has served as a serious wake-up call. So where do you start on the road to innovation with your quality team? I want to go over just a few steps foundationally that help you get organized for your digital future. We have had great conversations with companies who have set goals for themselves to be paperless this year and into next year. And a lot of the organization that we provide is a great foundation for that, and also for leveraging the power of cert transfer automation. First of all, document scanning and upload. At our disposal, we have a network of companies that are available to come on site and do the heavy lifting for you. If you don't want your team to be taken away from their responsibilities in this task, teams can come in and take those banker boxes and digitize back inventory and provide those digital cert packages for you. The other option, though, is the fact that there are a lot of scanning features with your current scanner or those on the market that also allow you to do a lot of bulk uploads, even with the simplicity of putting a blank sheet between cert packages. You could be scanning in 40 to 50 pages at once and have all of that uploaded and available to you. When you then start to consider organization, we love the idea that instead of locating and printing out that cert package for your customers and putting it in a box, now with digital certs, that one-to-many approach applies. There's great efficiencies there to send the same cert package electronically. And then finally, the naming convention. This is a great question that a lot of our customers asked. How do we get organized? What makes sense? What's going to stand out and be most efficient for my team? And usually that also means it should work well for your customers. So lot-based documents provide a lot of clarity and insights for all parties involved. And for those customers who have unique cert requirements, we usually then assign some PO naming convention related to that, which keeps it specific to the customer. We will be providing these insights and a few more recommendations related to that foundational effort in your path to paperless next week. So look for the download link related to that. Talking a little bit now about SmartCert and the advancements in cert transfer. As a universal platform, this means we're meeting everyone where they're at, whether they are a raw materials supplier or an OEM. Everyone can take advantage of this platform, and you can start to understand the efficiencies it creates when everyone's speaking the same language. We have great conversations with customers, companies related to their goals that they're setting, not only for the path to paperless, but where can we make a greater impact internally on what we're trying to accomplish. This also relates back very powerfully to where can we cut costs, where can we improve productivity, where can we work smarter. We know that remote work may continue to be a part of our culture, and for those that require access to certs, they love the idea of accessing a cloud-based solution and creating a little bit more flexibility related to their internal processes. As I mentioned, reducing costs is everyone's main objective. The automation piece of this and the fact that you can finally control what's coming inbound from your suppliers from a cert package perspective, as well as those continued requests from your customers, things start to get pretty exciting. I was just on a call a few weeks ago with a customer. He's so excited to roll this out because he tells me that it's very common for him and his team to spend time on the phone with a customer and receive calls from many of their departments. They would rather call their supplier and ask them to resend paperwork instead of communicating internally. So certainly painful there, quite exciting to think about the time you get back in your day when the process is automated and your customers have access to a cloud-based archive of all the cert packages you've sent. Again, from a cost-cutting perspective, eliminating paper. I spoke with another customer recently who can't wait to stop buying as much paper as they are. And the storage space, there have been some pretty incredible photos of back rooms and attics and stacks of banker boxes. So the future looks bright when you think of the fact that you can be reducing the impact on your personal space as well as cutting costs related to the expense of your current process. Keeping certs with their parts, this was another objective Lyndon had back when he started SmartCert. How can we make certs more accessible to those who need it? We do this with a QR code, which really empowers people to be able to view certs and information related to the part wherever they are and whenever they need to, in a warehouse, at the time of assembly. Things start to become a lot more efficient and effective internally when you don't have to rely on your quality department to pull up the certs to confirm information. Finally, maintaining your competitive advantage. We know if everyone sells the same parts, it's hard to differentiate. And this value add service of automation and storage certainly starts to make an impact. It delights salespeople to be able to have a conversation, bring up something new, and stand out. So one of the things that I'd like to go through is a quick exercise. When we start the conversation with companies, it's pretty common for a business owner or a C-level executive to not truly understand what their internal cert process really entails, who's involved, how much time it takes. So we have common questions that we ask just to get a feel for where their challenges and pain are, and if SmartCert's a good fit to be able to help out. So for the purpose of this example, we'll take a small company in the supply chain, one who processes about 40 shipments a week with certs going outbound. The number of people involved in this company will be 3 people. And not only are they spending time every day processing certs, putting together cert packages for shipments, but they're also fielding those phone calls related to, can you resend the paperwork? My vendor hasn't provided paperwork, I need to reach back out to them. Their day starts to really be overcome with a lot of hours spent tracking down paperwork. For this team, we'll call it 5 hours a day between the 3 of them spent on paperwork. Where we get really excited is when we can make an impact. And usually this saves about 75% of the time when our customers start to automate cert transfer and leverage the SmartCert platform. That's a savings of over $23,000 a year. And when you start to think about the impact you want to make with the challenges you're facing this year, I think that that number is quite appealing. And not only that, but the payback for this subscription platform is 2.9 months for that company. The true excitement about this is not only is that creating efficiencies internally, but you're giving your customers what they want. The idea of automating cert transfer certainly has its appeal, at 24/7 access. So their free account enables them to also communicate internally. When you can add up to 10 users and start to include all your buyers, your quality manager, now this platform really starts to hone in on smarter efficiencies related to internal conversations. You're cutting out certainly a lot of steps. The cloud-based storage and archive that you're providing also is great for redundancies and backups. We hear a lot now about concerns with local server storage space, but even more concerning is the risk of hackers and ransomware. Having that redundancy and backup certainly provides peace of mind. And when there is a rev change for a cert package, those updates, whether they're from your vendor and the SmartCert you received from them, or it's for a customer, when you make changes to a SmartCert, they're done in real time. So when someone scans that QR code or accesses that SmartCert in their dashboard, the updates will be available to them immediately. I don't want to brag, but this feels Certainly exciting to talk through all the benefits and really recognize that this is a premier platform, one of its kind, in really automating cert transfer. Our customers range from specialty manufacturers to multi-location distributors. We've checked the box on security requirements, and we're following a well-known and proven path of using technology to streamline processes. The beautiful part of this is because it is a Microsoft platform, it's also simple and intuitive. When we have conversations and they say, this is great, you know, we're going to add it to our to-do list for Q4, or we'll revisit in 2023. We just don't have the time right now. When I mentioned the fact that this is 5 meetings, essentially a few hours time that empowers and enables your team to not only understand what their current process looks like right now and where SmartCert fits in, but how to create a lot-based SmartCert, that one-to-many approach with significant efficiencies there, customer-specific, PO-specific SmartCerts, and then the best part, I think that Brianna and I really enjoy is going over exactly what the customer experience looks like. Not only do we want your team to have confidence in this process, but we also want to make sure that your customers are supported. So we go over the email templates that we provide that you can introduce the platform to your customers, as well as the website that we provide that showcases FAQs and how-to videos. You are not required to become IT support for your customers. That's where me and my team really enjoy, is making sure as change management happens, as new processes and digital innovation starts to permeate the industry, that we are making sure everyone is clear and confident on its usage and certainly all the benefits it provides. So we are 23 minutes in, and I'm hoping we've received a few questions. Brianna, if you would like to join me, maybe you can go through anything you may have received.
Okay, hello everyone. So we did actually receive 3 questions as you were wrapping up back to back. I didn't have enough time to answer them, but I'll go ahead and ask them for you and for the room. Our first 2 questions are, what kind of time savings have your customers experienced using SmartCert, and what industries will benefit from SmartCert?
Great questions. So as far as an efficiency perspective, we had a great call with the quality team at PennCom in May. And one of the great statistics that we learned from them leveraging this internally, they're a manufacturer and distributor, the fact that they're seeing 80% time savings in just using this as an internal tool to communicate between their locations. Obviously, there's a huge impact there when you think about it. From an efficiency perspective, they're certainly looking forward to rolling this out to additional locations and taking advantage of the efficiencies it will continue to provide when they roll this out to their customers. Second part of the question, Brianna, was?
What industries will benefit from SmartCert? And we just got another question. Do you have an estimate on cost savings?
Great. Yeah, so industries that will benefit. Truly, this is a smart tool for any critical supply chain that requires the transfer of certifications. I mentioned the industries that we're in: industrial, aerospace, electronics. We've just started to dip our toe into food, additive manufacturing. There certainly is a lot when we consider where we expand and the fact that this translates to common problems throughout many supply chains. From an efficiency standpoint, the 80% savings, my example related to $23,000 in costs. This is obviously specific to each company, But I can say, you know, with our customers who have rolled this out to 200 of their customers, the time savings that their team has just in being able to send one SmartCert to many customers instead of processing manual paperwork, the impact is huge. But we also recognize the fact that most companies don't really have an understanding of the time it's taking them right now. So benchmarks may be challenging, but I think it's very clear once you get started, where those efficiencies are really going to impact your team.
Awesome, great answer. And then we did have a question. It's kind of an elaborated question. How difficult is it to get customers to adopt to electronic certs? And do they still demand paper or email?
Very good question. I think when everyone thinks about change management, they can cheerlead their teams, but they worry about their customers, and certainly leveraging the fact that what they know will benefit them may still feel a bit tricky. Change management is hard. Forcing anyone into that is hard. I will share that company that has launched SmartCert to every single customer. They actually made it a requirement. If you need paper certs, it's going to cost you money. All but two really had any issue with getting started. One was because it's a global company that needs to evaluate how this is going to fit in the future. So they're taking their time understanding the changes that it will require, recognizing certainly as we become the industry standard of what's to come. But there are also going to be those customers who may just not be set up to accommodate that. But for 198 customers to leverage the efficiency the platform creates, and that team went back and solicited feedback. We know this is new and different. If you had the choice, would you go back to the process we used to have? And every single one of them said no. So a lot of that has to do with the fact that we recognize there's a lot going on. No one wants to learn a new process. And that's really where we've focused in as a company on the support perspective. Every question is answered. Everyone has the time they need to make sure they understand the new process. And that's something we're definitely going to stay committed to.
Awesome, that is for sure. And to just elaborate on that question before we wrap, how hard is it to get customers to make the change?
You know, as I mentioned, we have a lot of tools, so there isn't room for a lot of questions. We provide them steps on how to get set up. They have access to videos to watch with questions. Their experience is really simple. Their dashboard provides all the information they need. They can download certs, they can print certs from the dashboard and follow their internal process. There isn't a lot to learn. As I mentioned, it being a Microsoft platform, it's already intuitive based on what they work on within other Microsoft applications. So again, we empower our customers to have great conversations and certainly what's in it for them conversations for their customers. And we take it from there to ensure everyone is comfortable and confident. In closing, we would love to stay connected. If you have questions related to anything, if you have feedback, we would love to hear from you. We do have more information available on our website and would love you to stay connected to our teams in technology on LinkedIn. You can find us by searching for SmartCert by Aramid. Thank you again for your time today. We appreciate it. And we look forward to future webinars with you as well.